Alrighty, welcome back. For those of you that already saw my first video on my May 2025 Paper Pumpkin alternatives, this is my second set of 3 that I will be doing with you. And again, I am bringing in some retired stamp sets, some online exclusives that could still be in last chance, may already be gone. But again, just grab what you have at home and try to put together these cards based on some of your old stamp sets. Part of, like I said in the last video, I really truly believe that when we're doing our Paper Pumpkin alternatives, this is a great time to look at some of your old stamp sets and see what you have on hand to help you create some beautiful alternative cards for your Paper Pumpkin kits. So again, this is the May 2025. I think I called it something else in the last video, but it's Mountains Majesties. I think I said Majestic Mountains, but it's Mountain Majesties Paper Pumpkin Kit. And so let's get started. Okay, so this is actually my card 4, but it'll be the first one of this. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a basic white card base. Sorry, I'm trying to get things out of the, oh, you know what, let me just leave it right there for now. You are going to need a piece of Misty Moonlight that is 4 by 5, what is this? 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. A piece of Whisper White, basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. You can already see that I already stamped on this one, but you will need a piece to do this on. 3 by 4. I wanted to get some of the coloring done ahead of time. And then you're going to need a 2 by 3 1/2. And I'm not sure what this one is for. Maybe, maybe not. And then from your kit, you're going to need this piece here and this piece here. And I'll figure out what I did. You will need another, oh, that's what I need to cut. Sorry, I do need to cut. You're going to need a basic white that is 4, or no, you're not. Never mind. Never mind. I lied. I decided to change up what I was doing. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is some blending. And so we are going to actually be blending on our card base. And so my suggestion to you guys is I always bring in a little bit of tape just to kind of hold it in place. And then make sure I have a really good burnish on this so that when I start bringing that in, it doesn't get anywhere but on this top. So we're going to start with Misty Moonlight. And so let me bring in my blending brush. And again, remember guys, you always want to start off so that you don't get this little stark, you don't get like what I'm getting right now. And I think that's just because I just recently washed this brush. And so, but that looks kind of cool. I actually kind of like that. It actually makes it look more like a sky. So sometimes when you wash these, they get areas that are a little stiffer, and so you get that. But if you keep blending, it will actually all blend together really well. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of liking this where it's leaving those in there. And the other thing too is to make sure that you're not pushing too hard, because if you push too hard, you also get that really rough edge. All right, so let me just keep blending. And I know this part can seem like it takes forever because, sometimes it doesn't feel like we're getting a lot of color, and that's when we tend to maybe push a little too hard. But I actually pushed a little harder because I kind of liked that look. But usually it's just a really light touch, but you do have to constantly be, blending this in, and it does take, several times through to get the smooth blend look that you're looking for. I wonder if I'm out of ink a little bit too. We just used this Misty Moonlight for this class last month, and I don't know if I re-inked before I started this, but I do like that look. So I'm going to leave that there for now. Then I'm going to bring in Lost Lagoon, and Lost Lagoon I'm going to start from the bottom, or actually I am going to start at the top and go down because we want it darker to lighter. Let me just make sure I get some good ink on this. Again, I should have probably re-inked before my class. All right, so I'm just going to start in the Misty Moonlight and then come down with the Lost Lagoon. So we do start off the page because that's just what tends to work a little bit better. I'm going to kind of turn my paper here. I can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but if you look closely at this, you can see like the middle is lighter, so I should have re-inked before I did this. So this one might take a little longer than usual, but we're just going to be patient with it. And we're just going to keep bringing it in and going down to the bottom without putting a lot of pressure so that we get a nice smooth look. You blending backwards. See how that works. And you'll notice how I do kind of keep going up to the top to make sure that these two colors are blending well together. But then we want to bring that color down all the way to the bottom. And it doesn't need to be dark, but you don't, like I can see a big white spot right there, but you definitely don't want like white spots. And so you go as far as you want, you know, if you want this to be darker, then you would keep going. But for this video purpose, we're gonna say we're good right there. And then we're gonna do some stamping with some pigment white ink. And because we're using pigment white, I'm gonna do that right now because the pigment white takes a little bit to dry. So I'm going to grab that. Sorry, I'm just trying to get stuff put away so I don't have a lot of stuff sitting here. Now, normally I do re-ink this right before I use it, but because I just re-inked it for this class, I think we should be okay. Now, oh, I forgot to tell you. I'm so sorry, guys. So the set that I'm using with this one is the Adventure Together. This was an online exclusive. Not sure if you can still get it. It came out January of 2025, but we're using this bundle for this. And so this one's interesting because the moon and the stars are all together, but I'm going to stamp it several times across the top of this. But I'm only going to be inking the moon up once. And hold on, I'm going to need one more thing. Wasn't quite ready for this one, I guess. I needed to make sure I had some baby wipes because that's how I usually clean when I use the pigment ink. Okay, so we're gonna do our first stamp. And you don't want to push like super hard with this, mainly because pigment ink has a tendency to, like if you push the stamp down really hard, it has a tendency to smear. And I didn't want these to be like super bright in the sky anyway, even though when you're camping, it is super bright, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna try to carefully just ink up stars. I probably should just cover that, but we'll go with this and see how it works. So now I'm gonna put my next set of stars right here. Okay. It will help that I don't have to wipe this off between. It helps pick up those images a little bit better. Okay, so let's do that one more time. Okay, so you can see there's just a few stars across the top of that. Now, if you like, I want to come in here, so I'm going to kind of flip to this other side and try to get these stars without getting the moon, because I want to bring in some of those little ones up there, like so. All right, so now we've got a nice covering. Now, the darker you go with your blending, the brighter these stars will look, just so you know. Then what I'm gonna do, because I wanted my moon to be more yellow, I actually came in, sorry, I just want to get that cleaned really good. Oh, let's see. Let's try the Daffodil Delight. I'm not sure if this is completely dry, but I believe we can come in with our Daffodil Delight marker. And we can go just inside those lines. And that does make our moon then yellow. And let me bring it closer so you can see. So it's very faint, but that's the look I'm going for. So do you see how that, using the markers, it made the moon yellow? Okay. All right, so now we are going to bring in that piece that I already stamped and started coloring on. Let's move this so it can dry. And then another thing you can do is, if you don't want to mess with the pigment ink, you can actually just put little dots with like a gel pen, and that would work as well. So I already colored the camper, and now I'm going to color the chair. And so I just did that with dark and light Misty Moonlight. And again, I just, with the dark is what I brought in the, did the stripes with. And then colored over the top with the light Misty Moonlight. So this is when we're blending the two together. Okay, and then we're going to do this up here. And I always color, I don't know if you guys can tell, in kind of a circular motion. For me, it just helps the blending process a little bit. I mean, you don't have to do that, but that's just how I do it. All right, so there's our little chair. And then for the fire, we are going to come in with our dark smoky slate. And it's gonna, the dark is gonna be this band here. And then these sections right here. Then our light is going to come in, and it's going to be the top of our fire pit and the bottom. And then to make this look fiery, I actually came in, I'm using Dark Daffodil Delight and was it Dark Cajun Craze? Oh, I think it was Calypso Coral, Dark Calypso Coral. Okay, so had to think about it. It's been a while since I made this card. So I'm going to come in with the bottom here in that Dark Calypso Coral, about that high. Then I'm going to come in with my Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to like start from the bottom, and I'm going to push that color up. And then the more you color down here at the bottom with the Daffodil Delight, the more that, and I'll bring it closer so you can see, the more that blends. See how it blended in once I went back over it with the Daffodil Delight. So that just makes it look more like, you know, the flames are coming up. And I think I'm actually going to come in with my Calypso Coral because I kind of want this part more fiery looking, like it went up at least to that flame. So then I'm going to come right over the top of that with that Daffodil Delight, and then again it makes it look like it's on fire and blending. Okay. Now what? Okay, so then we're going to, on this one, on our little label that is from our kit, we're gonna stamp the Happy Campers in Misty Moonlight. I'm gonna stand up for this so that well, first let's get it straight on here. That would probably help. Oh, it moved. I hope that's okay. Oh, it did okay. I saw it move just as I got over it, and I thought, oh no, it's gonna mess it up. Okay, so just cleaning that off. And then for the inside, the inside's really simple. It's just gonna say, let the fun, or let the adventure begin. We're campers. I don't know about you guys, but we are, that was one of the reasons I got this set, was because our family, we don't do it anymore that our kids are grown, but we used to camp all the time. And we've got so many fun memories, and I still have tons of pictures to scrapbook. So I really needed this set so that I could add some fun elements onto my scrapbook pages with this set. Because like I said, because, you know, I do scrapbook, I make cards, and I also do junk journaling, and because I do all three of those, I'm always looking for stamp sets that kind of do different things, that do multiple things, so that I can use it for all of those different things. All right, so this inside piece is going to get matted on the Misty Moonlight, the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then we're going to pop this to the inside of the card, and then we are going to finish the outside. Or I should say the front. Okay, so let's pop this open, and we're gonna stick this here. I'm telling you what, this Paper Pumpkin kit had so many pieces and parts, and I'll be honest with you, it was a little overwhelming to like start designing with it, because there was so many different pieces, and it's like what to do. Sorry, I'm trying not to touch that too much. And then I'm gonna go ahead and glue this piece, is gonna go to this left side over here to bring our forest in. And again, this is one of the die cuts from the kit. And don't get me wrong, I love the cards that were designed in the kit, but as you know, sometimes we try to you know, stretch these pieces out so that we can get more out of our kits. I mean, I think we try to do that in every aspect of our lives, not just card making. All right, so there you go. So there we have that. And then our happy camper sign is gonna go about right there. So let's just go ahead and again, and I didn't pop anything up on this card originally, but I might pop up the camper this time because I think that might look cute popped up. All right, so let's get that on there, and then let's get our die cuts and get those set up. What I'm going to do is just get everything taped here, and then I'm going to pop over to my die cut machine instead of bringing it in, and we're going to die cut these pieces out. So we've got the camper, the fire, and the chair, and then obviously there's other pieces to this. And so I'm just going to bring in my Post-it tape, and we're gonna just tape all these in place, and then I can take them over there instead of trying to bring that over here, because my desk is getting quite busy over here because I've been doing so many different cards with different stamp sets this morning, trying to get these videos up and out to you guys. So I'm just going to tape all these in place so that I can pick this up and move it without worrying about the dies moving. Alrighty, and I'll be right back. You'll probably hear it going through the die cut machine. All right, so let's bring this back over, and we're just going to pop all these little pieces out. Sorry, I'm trying to stick my dies back in place. I mean, you know, worst thing that can happen, right, for those of us that use our dies quite a bit is to lose one of the dies. I'm like, well, I'm always worried about that. Okay. All right, so that's extra. And I guess that was an extra piece. I don't know what I thought I was going to use that for. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is get our little chair, kind of like the campsite, as far as, hey, this is where I'm sitting. This is where my fire is. And so I'm just going to kind of do that scene down, that part of the scene down here at the bottom. And then this one's going to go right there. And then our camper is going to kind of sit here, but I do think I'm going to pop this one up this time because I just want to see what it's going to look like. I didn't do it the first time, so I am going to do it this time. So we're just going to bring in some dimensionals and see what it looks like when we pop our little camper up. So I don't know how many of you have, you know, done any camping with your family, but like I said, we've got great memories. I have so many pictures of us at campsites from the time my kids were little itty bitty to, and it was actually about the time they started sports, then we didn't have time to go camping much anymore because we were always on the road to some sporting event. But up until that point, we were pretty avid campers. Okay, did I get it on there? And again, as long as you don't push things down super tight. Oh, I do like it with that popped up, so that is cute. All right, guys, so there is card number 4. Hope you like it. And so it just took a little bit of blending, and then, you know, adding in our camper. And the reason I didn't use like half of the card base was because the card base that had these trees on it, there wasn't really a big enough space for like a camper to be sitting. So that's why I decided to blend and kind of make my own design here. All right. So that is card number 4. So let me just get this stuff out of the way, and we will start in with card number 5. Now I'm going to talk to you about the pieces that I used for card number 5. But again, I would have had enough pieces to do this card, but one of my ladies kind of had she had used some of her stuff before she got to my card class, and so I had to loan her one of my pieces. And so I'm going to talk to you about the piece that I use. I'm going to show you on the card, and then but then I'm going to show you how to do this if you run out of pieces. So for this one, you're going to need a white card base, and then you're going to need a 2.5. You know what? I think that's what that other piece was for. It fell out of here. Where is that? That's it, 2.5. Maybe not. I think it was that other piece. I could have, oh, I don't know. We'll try to get it on this one, but it should be a 2.5 by 4. And then you're going to need, this should be 4 by 5.25, but it's bigger. So we'll be cutting this down. Hold on one second. Oh my gosh. I think I got my pieces mixed up when I was putting this kit back together for the second time. And so so the 5.25 was right. Okay. And then you're going to need a piece of Misty Moonlight that should be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. All right, and then you're going to need this vellum piece out of your kit. And then you're going, this is the card that we're doing. And so this was like, I cut this out of the bottom of one of the card bases, but I had to give this to somebody else. So because I don't have that, we're going to be doing some experimenting today on, I'm going to be doing some blending in, but I'm going to be masking off. And so you're going to get to see how to do that if you want to make more cards. All right, so let's get the stamping done, because on this piece right here in Misty Moonlight, we are going to stamp the birds, and because it's vellum, we need to give it time to dry. So this needs to be like the first thing that we stamp. So we're going to stamp them right there. And then I'm going to set this to the side to dry a little bit. I just need a piece of, I'm going to be stamping off, and I don't want to have to get this wet right now. And so we're going to come in like right there. Whoops. And then throw it. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you get that stamped on the vellum. You can stamp from the back side as well, if you're worried that it's not gonna, if you're like in a hurry and you need to get it done and you don't really have time for it to dry. But we've got a little bit of time here. Sorry, I'm trying to find my cleaner. And then the stamp sets that I brought in for this one was actually, these are all paper pumpkin ones. So this stamp right here came from the Desert Wings. It's like a little spotted, it's got little spots on it. It's like I call them grunge stamps. And then the one that says, "Cheers to another adventure," the compass and the boot all came from the Exploring in Color, May of 2023. This was the Exploring in Color. And then I have this Dad Ever, and this came from the Batters, the Paper Pumpkin Batter Up stamp set, was May of 2021. So Delicate Wings for the little grunge stamp. That was Delicate Wings Paper Pumpkin stamp from April of 2024. These three all came from the Exploring in Color Paper Pumpkin, May of 2023. And then this one was the Batter Up stamp set from the May of 2021. Okay, we're good. Okay, so we're gonna do some coloring again. So we're gonna stamp, and I think I had you know what, I think I'm gonna use the bigger piece that I have in here. You don't need this big a piece, but this is just what I have. So first we're going to be stamping in black Memento ink, and we're gonna stamp, actually I think, what did I do? Did I do 2 or? No, I stamped on here. Okay, so on here we're gonna stamp 2 boots. So there's 1. There's 2. And then we're gonna stamp a compass. There's 3. And then on the inside, we're going to stamp a boot. Okay, so now we're going to sit here and we're going to color these. Let me just get this out of the way. And obviously you can color your boots whatever color you want to. Totally up to you. Obviously we will be fussy cutting these out because these are these were Paper Pumpkin ones that did not have die sets with them. So let's get our boots colored really quick. And so I'm going to use Pecan Pie for part of this. And I want to use, where's the dark? Is this the dark one? Okay, I'm going to use the dark for the end of the toes. And this back section here. I actually have some hiking boots that kind of look like this. But how fun, if we were going to do this for a girl, how fun would this be to do these spots right here in either pink or purple? How fun would that be? But again, these look exactly like my boots. So let's get that colored in. Then I'm going to come in with the light Pecan Pie, and we're going to do where the boot ties up. So this section right here. On all 3 of these. Same with this one. And then we're going to come in with the Misty Moonlight, and we're going to use the dark Misty Moonlight to follow these the stitching. And you can see I didn't even follow it exactly. I just was touching them like basically just kind of putting little dots on them. So I wasn't being like super exact. Okay, then we're going to bring this in, and we are going to, this is the light Misty Moonlight, and then we're just going to color in those boots. And I'm probably going to run out of this one. Hopefully I have another light one over there. You can kind of tell when they're starting to, they squeak a lot more when they're starting to go dry and not have as much ink in them. That's kind of a telltale sign that, uh-oh, I need a replacement. So this is my second one today that I had a light mossy meadow that I was working with earlier, and that one is ready to, okay, let me see if I have another light one so I know this isn't going to take as long. I do, so let's pull that one off. Oh yes, much better. I don't know if you guys can hear the difference, but there's not as much squeaking. So just so you guys know, when they start really squeaking, that means they're dry and you're probably going to have to replace them. Alrighty. Get this one done, and then we'll get the clock and we'll stamp our sentiment on the inside, and then we will be ready to put this one together. Oh no, I have to do that blending on the front. Ugh. All right, so there's those two. And then for the clock, I did this little, like the little thing that spins in the light Misty Moonlight, and then I'm going to come in with light Smoky Slate for the compass. And the next card that we're doing, again, had to loan out some of my extra pieces, and so, but I'm going to show you. And again, you know, these fixes that I'm showing you can also, if you decide that you like some of these designs, but you don't have enough pieces, this is a good way to do that. All right, so we're going to fussy cut around this. Sorry. So let's get these fussy cut out really quick. So again, I'm moving the paper with my left hand, and I'm just allowing the scissors to cut. I do move the scissors up when I need to shift them up so that it's cutting the paper it needs to. But I am guiding the paper totally with my left hand. I think circles are the hardest to fussy cut, or at least they are for me. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to have a little more trouble trying to get a perfect circle. But again, I don't worry about it too much. It is fussy cutting, so it's not supposed to be perfect. And that's the good thing about fussy cutting, right? So we're just going to get this cut around here. I really used to hate fussy cutting until I really got the gist of letting my left hand do most of the work. So if you guys have tried fussy cutting and it seems to be difficult for you, you know, really try using your opposite hand to guide the paper and see if that helps, see if it changes. You know, obviously I'm all about easy buttons, so if there's a die, I want the die, but you know, there are times where, like these little hiking boots that are so stinking cute from this stamp set, and I wanted them for this card, so had to make the decision that I was gonna fussy cut. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp, what does this say? Cheers to another adventure. Sorry, I'm looking for my Misty Moonlight ink spot. Here we go. Gonna stand up so that I can get this somewhat straight. There we go. cleaned off. Okay. So I drew in, before I loaned that piece, I actually set it here and I traced it. So I know how this is supposed to look. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some of this tape. And I am going to mask right up to that line. Obviously, this card is a lot easier if you can use that piece. And again, it's this piece, and I believe this was just one of the die cut pieces. And this is where this part gets hard, because you're trying to get everything taped. And especially when you're trying to go like around a curved area like this, it's a little more difficult. Okay, so let me, where did I put my scrap piece? Who knows? Oh, here it is. All right, so let's bring this in. And we're going to see how this works, because I haven't done this yet. So we're going to see how this works with the pecan pie and blending this instead of using that piece, because obviously I don't have that piece anymore. Okay. All right, so let's ink it up. All right, here we go. So we're going to come in, and I do want it to be darker kind of up in this area, especially where these two, you know, where these meet. And I should have probably erased my pencil, but I'm going to show you how to fix that just in case. But this is where it would be darker, is up here. And then the rest of it is just going to be bringing in the color. And obviously it's not going to be as dark. And I think actually our piece is darker at the bottom than the top. So I'm going to try to, sorry, I'm trying to go fast. So that's why you're seeing all these marks and stuff in here. But I'm fixing to add some fun to that anyway. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is see if my pencil will erase. And it won't, so I should have done that first. But what I'm going to do is now I'm going to come in with my dark pecan pie blend and open your, oh, you know what? That's not going to work because blends bleed through. It's okay. I have a backup. I have a backup plan. We're going to come in with our marker, our pecan pie marker, and we're just going to kind of draw in those curves with our marker. Ooh, I almost messed that up by using a blend, huh? Now what I want to do is kind of come in and blend over that. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be as good as if we could use that piece. It's still going to look good. So now we're going to pull this off. And we have our heels. Now we're going to come in with our little grunge stamp, and we're going to fill in like some dirt looking areas. And I'm definitely going to be kind of stamping. And so I'm just kind of going back and forth. And we're just going to kind of bring this in to make it look like, you know, there's some little pieces of sand and all that goodness. Okay, so it looks okay. Not perfect, but it does look okay. Not as good as if we could have used that piece there. So let's clean up that stamp set. That stamp set, that stamp. Okay, so next, hopefully this hasn't gotten smeared. I was throwing stuff on top of it. So next we're gonna bring in that vellum piece and we're gonna stick it right up there. Now I went ahead and just did some little, I used my stamp and seal for this. Oh my gosh, come on. And it worked just fine. You can't really see that. But try not to rub where the birds are, because I can see mine still need a little time to dry. Okay. And I have again gotten something on my card. All right, let's move this out of the way. Okay. So now what we need is we're going to do our stamping right here. So I'm going to bring in the one that said, "You're the greatest." What have I done with it? Probably put it back away. And this was a Father's Day. But, you know, you guys can add whatever. You're the greatest grandpa. You're the greatest dad. You know, you can do this any way that you want to. But I'm just going to stick with what I already have on here. And just so you know, let's say you wanted it to curve. Okay, let's say you kind of wanted to follow your curve here. So see how you can do that? And so if I take that and I just put it, because it's a photopolymer, I can curve that so it follows that top curve right there. That's one of the cool things about photopolymer stamps, is that you can make them follow the curve. So we're going to put "You're the greatest" right here. And then it just says "Dad ever." You're the greatest dad ever. Because, you know, kids talk like that these days. So then we're going to stamp up the "Dad ever." Again, you put what sentiment you want there. This one I'm going to kind of go straight like that. We're almost done with this card. See, that didn't even take that much more time to do that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our little boots and we're going to, I'm going to kind of glue my first one so that it's kind of, looks like it's kind of climbing or at least walking. So that one's going to go there. This one is going to come in and it's going to layer over that one. Like so. And then our little compass is going to go up here. Okay, so there's our little compass. And then for the inside, we're just going to put this on this and then both of these in. So it wasn't super complicated, but you can imagine if I wouldn't have had to do all this and I could have just used the piece that's in the kit. If I could have just used this piece, then I could have just glued that in place, you know, stamped all the little dots where I stamped the dots, and then boom, this card would have been done. But even with the blending, it did not take a ton of time to get this one done. So let's get this. I'm looking pretty good on time. I have a Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock today, so I'm trying to get done before that. All right, so there you go. The world's greatest dad ever. And then we've got our little boots. We've got our compass. Again, this could have, you know, maybe if I would have lightly drawn it in to begin with the marker, it would have looked a little bit better. But I don't think that looks bad. I think that still looks okay. All right, so that is card number 5 done. All right, so card number 6 is a little more complicated. Again, because we're missing, I had to loan out some of my pieces. But let's talk about what we're going to need for this one. And let's talk about the stamp set. Oh, I don't know where it went. Oh, I know it's not there. Well, I apologize, and I can't remember. I do remember the name of it, but I can't show you the full stamp set because for some reason it's not sitting here. All right. Oh, gosh. I'm losing it. Okay. So you're going to need a basic gray card base, and this is bigger than it's supposed to be. I looked at that and went, that looks a little big. All right, let's trim that down to the 5.5. All right, then you're going to need a basic white cardstock, 4 by 5.25. You're gonna need 2 basic white pieces, and I believe these are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then you're going to need another scrap to stamp the stamps that we're going to stamp. And then you need a Misty Moonlight piece, which I don't have here, which is 4 by 5.25. So let me go grab that and cut that. I knew I was missing a piece. Then I'll talk about what you need out of your kit. So 4 by 5.25. Okay, I'm going to keep this up here because I got to show you something. Okay, so from your kit, you would have had a piece. I thought I had it over here. Dang it, what did I do with that? Oh my gosh, guys, I'm losing stuff all over the place. You're going to need the large vellum. And then you're going to need, it's a piece like this, but it's in the pecan pie. But it is like a die cut piece. And then I think I'm also missing another piece that I needed for this. And I was going to try to figure out, oh wait, and this piece. Oh, shoot, I had one left. Okay. Okay, so from your kit, there's a piece it's like a die cut. It's more like cardstock, not vellum. And it's a pecan pie. But I ran out of this, so I basically just am using regular pecan pie cardstock. And then you're going to need this piece here. And then you're going to need this large vellum, but we're going to cut this. So we're going to cut, we need 4 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 squares. So I'm going to start at that bottom edge. And I'm going to get me 4 of these 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 squares. And then that other die cut pecan pie piece, you're going to cut out 4 1 1/4. I need to quit. Hold on. Did I do that right? Yes. Okay. Sorry. 1 1/4. And then I'm going to need one more. So I've got to cut another section out of this piece. But out of that other pecan pie piece, you're also going to need a 1 1/4. You're going to need 4 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. And then that's going to leave you a piece that looks like this that you can use for something else. And then it's also going to leave you, oh my goodness, this little strip on the right side. So I've got 4 of these that are out of the vellum. And then you also need to cut out of that pecan pie. Like I said, it looks, it's like the cardstock, but it's pecan pie. But I just went ahead and cut I just cut it out of regular pecan pie cardstock because I didn't have that piece left here anymore. Okay, the stamp set that we're using for this one is Feather Flight, and it was an online exclusive, and I can't show you but I'm using a lot of the pieces, but it was these ducks. And then it also, it's got some other things, but it's got a big duck that's flying too. So it was a really great stamp set. It was an online exclusive. So we're going to take those, and on that scrap paper, we are going to, in Misty Moonlight ink, and this time I'm going to use my big one just because it's a little easier. We are going to stamp the 2 ducks that are swimming. We're going to stamp the scene with like the water and the rocks. And then we're going to stamp the happy birthday from the paper pumpkin kit. All right. And then for the inside of the card, we're going to stamp these, there's a stamp set in that Feathered Flight that has like 3 of the ducks flying. We're going to stamp them in the right corner. I'm going to clean all these together. And then I think I used To a Wonderful Man. Let me find that one on the inside. So it's going to be a happy birthday to a wonderful man. Let me stand up so I get this straight. And I way over inked that. Okay. All right. Way I can get the ink out of the way. I can get these stamps cleaned and not have to worry about this part anymore. So give me a hot second while I get these nice and clean. But I love this stamp set because they don't call them distinctive anymore. Stampin' Up! Used to call them distinctive stamps. But this Feathered Flight one, Feather Flight, it was distinctive. And let me show you how I know, because like, see, when you stamp it, it already puts the highlights and lowlights in it. Okay, so we've got all of that stamped and put together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of building our card front. Sorry, I'm looking for my bone folder. So we're going to add we're going to add for sure this piece. So I need to add this piece across the bottom. It's going to be a little bit longer, so I wanted to add this before I put this on the card front. So again, we're just going to bring in some liquid glue. And you'll notice I don't use a ton of liquid glue, just enough. But I like to use liquid glue, especially when I'm working on pieces that are going to overhang. That way it gives me some wiggle room so I can move that. Then we're going to turn it to this side. We're going to snip this piece off. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on my card base, my card front. I'm almost out. I can hear it or I can feel it. All right. So this is just going to go on the front like so. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take these white pieces and we're going to make 2 triangles. And I'm going to do my, well, like 1 square and 1 triangle. So I'm going to do the triangle first because I believe that kind of sets up the whole, it helps you to center it easier. And we're going to be making a little pinwheel for this card. All right, so let me see if I can get this. I need it right to the top. I think that is, all right, I think that's centered. Then we're going to come in with our square one, and it's going to, I mean, it's going to go as a square. But when you put that, when you put it like the diamond first, it's a lot easier to get your square straight. So now we're going to come in with this one, and it is going to set. Probably should have used liquid glue to give me some wiggle room on this. Let me see. Okay, that looks pretty straight. Okay, so now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start creating our pinwheel with these little pieces. And the key to this is that you want to leave an outline, but I'm only actually going to adhere like one side, because the last one is going to have to tuck. You could actually, like, if you can figure out the right side, you could put 2 on there. But it's this left side that you need to leave open, because when we get all the way around, we're going to have to tuck in our last piece. So you're going to go back and forth with these. And because it's, oh, see, I'm out. Okay. Hold on. I got to go grab a refill. I thought I was going to make it all the way through. So close, so close. Okay. Sorry about that. But you know, you got to use this stuff till it's completely out, because we don't want to waste any of it. So when you are replacing this, see this little post here? There's a little notch on here, and you want to make sure that you get that notch lined up so that this works well for you. And then I always scoot it until I feel a little bit of the glue. Okay, so again, on the vellum especially, I'm only going to put it on the right side. So then this one's going to go in, and it's going to fit right here. Again, we're trying to leave a little bit of a white area. So now we're coming in with this one, and it's going to fit like so. Okay, do you see what we're doing? Then we're going to come in with another vellum piece, and it is going to fit in this corner. Okay, then we've got our pecan pie piece. And I am putting where I have the tape, like, So it's on the right, you know, do you see what I'm saying? Even though this is upside down. So if I were to turn it, then we're going to put our vellum piece. And again, it's to the right. Then we're going to come in with our pecan pie piece. And it is going to go right here. Okay, now this is the one where, this is the one where I'm going to actually put, because I want it, once I tuck it under, I want it to stay under. So it's got to tuck underneath this piece here. And so I'm going to get it pushed up under there. This is kind of tight. Get that lined up. This is the hardest one to get in right. All right, let's lift. There we go. Okay. Then what I do is I just kind of go, I just lift that whole thing up and I put it, well, I put another little strip right there to hold that back down. Okay, and then we have our pinwheel. How fun is that? Okay, so to finish this card up, we're just gonna fussy cut this stuff out, and then we are going to be done with this card. Again, if you don't have this set, then, you know, use what you have. I mean, you don't have to make this all about ducks, but, you know, definitely if you have a hunter in the family that goes duck hunting, then I'm going to go ahead and just cut that just so I can get it to turn a little easier. Then this would be a perfect card for them. And again, this could be a retirement card. It could just be a, hey, thinking of you. It could be a good luck on your duck hunting. Right? You could send them a card and say, I know you love to duck hunt, and I know you're going to be duck hunting, and good luck. Hope all goes well. Okay, so let's get that one fussy cut out and set it right there. Then we're gonna, again, I'm just gonna kind of cut into this. So it's a little easier for me to get around it. So that's the hardest part right there, is getting the pinwheel done. I think it was one of my class's favorites because they've all seen the pinwheels and they didn't know how to do them. And so they were happy to learn the secret. I mean, pinwheels have been around for a while, but you know, sometimes we've done them and then we forget how to do them. So it's good that we get retaught some of those old techniques that we learned. And then I'm going to fussy cut around the happy birthday. This one was a lot of fussy cutting. And again, you know, with the words, I just try to follow the curve of the font. When I get on a straight one like this, I just kind of make up my own curves. All right. So we're going to take this piece and it's going to glue at the bottom. So it's going to be down here. Our happy birthday is going to go up here in the top left corner. And then we're going to pop up these ducks that are swimming. So we're going to bring in our dimensionals. You can hear me throwing things. Oh, heck. Okay, so I'm probably going to cut some smaller ones because I do want the ducks' heads to be supported. So we're just gonna cut, cut, cut. And then we're gonna take one of these and put it on that head. And that one might even need to be cut in half again. Yeah. Okay, then we're going to take this off. And then that's what's going to cover that center. So that's why you don't have to really worry about that center being perfect. So that duck's going to sit right there. We're going to put the inside in. And then we are done with this card. Card number 6. And I've showed you some workarounds, you know, because sometimes maybe you guys have already made some of the cards and you still want to make these. So I have shown you some workarounds, but I am going to bring in all of the cards that I made, all of my alternatives, not just the ones that I did for this hour, just so you can see, or it might have taken longer than an hour. But I just want you to, you know, get a good look of everything that is possible with this kit besides the beautiful cards that were already designed for us. All right, so this is all of the cards designed with that kit. How fun. And I did bring in a lot of retired stamp sets, but it was a lot of fun to work with some of those oldies but goodies. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that. And again, you can type in comments even though this isn't live, and we will see you soon. Bye.